What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Tuesday night. Another episode of Local Musicians XP, brought to you by no one in particular. Hope everybody's doing well. My name is Chris Burroughs, and my co-host Tyrone Jackson is coming in just a second. He had some technical difficulties, so he will be along shortly. Oh, there he is. You're looking fuzzy though, bro. You're looking fuzzy, man. You
Am I fuzzy?
You're looking fuzzy, man. Got to back out. Something's up. Let's see.
Looks good on my end, but I'm gonna try it again. Now let's do it again.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I added you this time. Let's see what happens. Uh-oh. We got nothing now. Anyway, as we get these technical difficulties taken care of, I'll get some house cleaning out of the way. I think you're frozen, my man. I can see you down here, but you look frozen. Let's get some technical some house cleaning out of the way. Please subscribe to the channel if you are on YouTube. Give us a sub, give us a like on the video, share the video. That helps us out a lot. We've got some new stuff that's going on with the channel. Our good friend Brian Falgout is going to be helping us out with some of the media stuff on the channel. So he's chopping things up as we speak and adding things. We have some new series coming up that we're going to introduce here shortly. There he is. That looks better.
Okay.
There you go. I told you stop messing around with them dollar store cameras, man. Dollar store,
bro. It was the 50-cent
store, man. Gotta leave a dollar store, man. You know. Hey, but I was just telling everybody that our great friend Brian Falgout is starting to help out with some media stuff. So he's actually added some new videos to the channel. We're going to be showcasing not only ourselves but other musicians in the area and beyond. We're doing some little cut-ups and featuring. He's got a nice little video of Eric Fontaine,
cool.
sax player, reed player extraordinaire, up there right now, who we should actually have on the show. And I'm sure he's got a real interesting story because he doesn't play professionally, but he comes out of the school of Kebby Williams, and he's been hanging out and coming to the gigs and the jams since he was like 15, 16 years old, man. His parents would bring him out, and eventually we let him sit in, and the cat has a very, very, very high skill. So
and he also took music like at Georgia Tech while he was working on his computer engineering degree.
From MIT, right? Doesn't he have an MIT?
Well, he
went
and got his master's or something at MIT, but him and his two brothers,
man,
all three of them are like 0.5% of their job is like 1% of the population or whatever. It's crazy, man.
Unbelievable.
And they all play music too. His brother plays.
Yeah, right. So his parents used to bring him over. They would come and hang out, see, eventually I think we started letting him sit in maybe when he was 16, 17, something like that. But he would hang out with Kebby and learned a lot from the Kebby Williams school. So he could play out, he can play in, he can play clarinet, he plays tenor sax, soprano, everything. So Barry. Right. Barry been playing Barry on a lot of people's stuff, man. But anyway, there's a little video of Eric up there, but we're going to have a lot more stuff that's going to be showcased on the channel. We have a new series that we have not unveiled yet, but that's coming up soon. That's going to take us, I think, more into the world of the content creators and zoning in on something that is very important to both myself and Mr. Jackson, close to our hearts. So we're going to unveil that here pretty soon. I'm going to be traveling a little bit here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be off next week. And Tyrone's going to be traveling also. So we'll be back in March, and we'll have some new guests, some new features, and some new content that's going to be going on the channel. So yeah, man. So there's a lot going on. I had a crazy day. Just car maintenance, man. Car maintenance, bro. I mean,
yeah, don't stop.
You know, all I wanted to do, I said, man, I'm gonna get my oil changed. I'm gonna get an alignment.
Right.
And one of my tires had a leak. So I said, I'm gonna go get the leak plug. Of course, 2 hours later, new set of tires, new windshield wipers.
No.
I was like, man, it just never stopped. But I'm glad it's all out of the way, man. If you ride like we do, you can't be riding. You can't be riding with the mystery vehicle, dude.
You cannot. Especially
riding
you got a reputation of being on time and being on the thing. There's nothing worse than your car messing up on you right before.
You be riding like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and them, the mystery machine. Cats ride the mystery machine, bro. You don't see them working that often, you know.
No.
So you gotta have all that, man. But so I had to get all that taken care of. I had to meet my brother John Chalden this morning. He had some drums that were just sitting around that
you had to get.
I mean, yeah, it's not like they're new, but they happened to match something else I already had, or very, very not exactly, but super close, man. Super close.
Okay.
I mean, you can't. I mean, it's almost like it's like a hair off.
You said drums plural, but not drum.
Well, just it's a set he had sitting, man. John got stuff just sitting, man.
Right,
you don't know he got stuff sitting, man. But that's my brother, man. I can always count on him for whatever I need, man. So, and he just produced. He's been doing the drum shows or the clinics up at this new Atlanta drum store.
Yeah, so Quentin was up there, right? Quentin Robinson.
Quentin was up there. Yeah, Quentin was up there on Monday, and some other cats. J-Rod, I think, did one.
Oh yeah, J-Rod. Yeah.
Maybe a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, so there's some, man. It's nice to see that kind of thing coming back, man. The clinics and
when are you gonna do one, bro?
Well, we're talking about it. I think Frankie and I are going to do one on Afro-Cuban and Brazilian rhythm. I was going to say Latin, but I didn't say it. Right. So, and showing some of the differences, and then showing how to, just as a working cat, knowing what to play when certain things happen. Not everything is going to go as planned with that stuff. So you have to be able to make adjustments on the fly, but you have to make it musical, first of all. Authenticity, of course. You want authenticity when you can have it, but if you don't have everybody that knows the authentic stuff, which is rare,
right?
You just find something that grooves, find something that works musically, and that makes the music feel good. That's the most important thing,
right?
Not I'm playing this and you have to, and you don't, man, that ain't nobody got no time for that. No. Just try to find something musical and make it work.
And funk percussion is a whole different beast. It's a whole different animal than it is. It's not like playing Afro-Cuban or Brazilian kind of stuff. The funk percussion has a different set of rules or way that they play against the groove. So
funny you brought that up, because I just saw somebody playing some funk percussion that he been keeping under wraps, man. I don't know.
Really?
Did you see it? Yeah.
I don't know if I did.
You know him.
I do.
You know him. Yeah, you know him. You know him real good. We had a matter of fact, he was on the show.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was He was on the show, and he almost got in a fight with another cat on stage.
Now I know who it is.
That's him. That's right. I'm talking about you, Brian Andrews. This cat put up a video, man, of him completely grooving his butt off on percussion.
We didn't know that.
I mean, congas, had the bongo. I mean, and knowing what to play, like, I mean,
Really?
grooving, man, playing parts.
What?
I said, man, what? Man, I've been looking for that. I've been looking for a cat like that.
Right.
See,
He's
now I found him. So now I found him. I got some ideas.
Gotta get the call.
And he's a great kid. I got some ideas. So, but yeah, man. I mean, these cats are multifaceted, man. Be holding stuff back, man. You don't even
trying to get him to come to the jam session and stuff, bro. We want to see what the
coming,
are, bro.
They ain't coming, man. They ain't coming out. They ain't coming, man.
Brian, I'm personally calling you out, bro. You got to come to Napoleon's. I'll be there this upcoming Monday.
He ain't coming.
I want you to show these cats your jazz chops, bro. So they can know.
He say, man, that's his night off and stuff, man. He be trying to, got to take care of home, all that kind of stuff.
Never have a night off.
But I'm gonna get him on that percussion. I got something for him, so he's gonna be hearing from me real soon. But yeah, man. So just got all that car stuff out of the way, man, and you had an interesting gig. Was that Thursday? No, I mean, I would really. What's up with that? Who was that?
Soul Symphony, bro. That's the gig.
Okay. Yeah. So the Soul Symphony, man. That's a cool thing, man. And
it is
huge production, big production, a lot of moving parts. You said you learned a lot of stuff, man. That because they had strings. Horn
section. Yeah.
Horn section, 4 featured vocalists. Tell us a little bit about just, we'll do a show where we're talking a little bit more in depth about that, but just give us a little overview.
So it starts with, first of people contracting you and contacting you for the gig. And you go through the logistics of what it's going to be and what it's going to entail. And for us, it entailed that they had an arranger that was going to arrange the songs for the artist and kind of be the liaison between the artists, because, as a band member, you don't really get a chance to speak with the artist, right? And most of these artists are famous people who have performed their hits, especially they may have #1 hits, whatever. So the next step is after you agree to it, the music director reaches out and lets you know what rehearsal schedule is, what songs they're doing. And if you've ever been in a situation, you don't know, since it's an orchestra, how it's going to be arranged. Like you can be in a situation with a regular band and you can pivot. It's like if you're driving a sports car, you can go in and out of traffic situations. But if you think about an orchestra, think of it like a bus, like a tour bus. You can't slam on the brakes hard. You can't make quick turns. You've taken a lot of people with you, and more mistakes could happen if you fall asleep at the wheel or if you try to make a quick adjustments. You can't do that with a big bus. And so when you think about an orchestra, everything is arranged, everything is set up a certain way. So it's really important that the music director and the artist speaks that they do it the same way, or they set up an opportunity for spontaneity. And what we mean by that is if there's a section that you can loop, we put it on there in the chart. Hey, we'll vamp or loop this section until cue. You cue out of it. But those sections are the only things that you could kind of flow out of. And it's not really a time to be creative. You got to play the parts,
Right.
So you have rehearsals, then you have a sound check with the artist, and you hit the songs and maybe make micro corrections here or there, and then you go on to the next artist. And then you have sound check or a meet, a call time, and then you off to the races with the show.
Right. So
So
it was Stephanie Mills. Who were the artists that were playing?
Rhonda Thomas, then
Mhm.
after that, Avery Sunshine,
Okay.
Eric Roberson, and then Stephanie Mills. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So they
Cool.
all had 4
Well,
songs apiece. Stephanie had 5.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. Well, that's great, and that's and I know that
White
you were
Tannis was on the
on.
gig. White Tannis is in the
Okay.
chat, but he was on
Oh
the
yeah.
gig.
What's up, Danny? Yeah, man, it's a big production. And just as you said, it's all about playing parts, playing
Right.
your part, being in sync with what's going on. And like you said, you cannot fall asleep at the wheel
Cannot.
with that, because it's moving. And if you not, that's gonna be a big speed bump, right?
Yes. And you got the little things too. You got to have, if you're going to use an iPad, you got to make sure it's charged up, or you have your charger with you. You got to
Mhm.
have your in-ear buds, because you're going to be hearing through that. Very rarely do they use monitors anymore. So you got to
Mhm.
have all that. You got to have your clothes right. You got to have concert black, and all those little things that you
Little
don't think
things,
about.
right?
Yeah, you got to be on point with that.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Factor in
But
traffic. If it's a Friday and you got to be downtown, but sound check
right.
is at 6 o'clock. Well, you know
Yep.
what 5 o'clock traffic is. Well, sometimes you got to leave early, which I left early. I got there at like 3:30. So I was like, I
Mhm.
might as well practice over there than practice at my house.
Right. And also being prepared for
Oh,
the rehearsal, not
yeah.
just mm,
You don't know what
mhm.
changes you're going to make at the last minute. You had a rehearsal Thursday. We got out of rehearsal around 9 p.m. and we still had work to do. You had to go make those little adjustments to your charts or whatever you had to learn and go with it.
Right. Right. It's
So yeah,
big boy stuff.
it
Big
is.
boy stuff.
It's driving
You
a
know,
bus, bro.
I'm talking to a friend of mine who um had a jazz combo come in and do a show
Mhm.
uh here recently. He said that it sucked. And the reason it sucked was because you could tell the cats hadn't rehearsed. It's an opportunity for you to at least get some kind of traction, but you have to make a good impression,
Mhm.
especially your first time playing somewhere. And he said it was obvious they had rehearsed. It was super loose. It was the endings were crash and burn.
Yeah.
Um, and they had sold a decent amount of tickets for this thing. So he was like, "Man, they got polite claps, but nothing heartfelt because you hadn't prepared for the show.
Right.
How how seriously do you take it? You know, you coming in uh dressed to come to a jam session is one thing, but putting on a show, that's completely different. And you gonna get caught out of pocket.
Yep.
People think they could just go up there and do it and have a show. And because you sing, or play ones, you doing one offs, and it's like, okay, but now you got a taste of it. Let's see what happens. So,
And you don't get
but
a call back. It's like that's the final thing. It's like you don't get multiple chances in that kind of stuff.
that's right. That's
You
right.
know?
And it's just amazing that people think they can do what you know thousands of us have trained ourselves to do for years and taken the lumps and gone through. And you have to learn, you have to go, and you have to pay your dues,
Yeah.
you know and but it's just like this, man. When that spotlight is on, it's just like the same thing they say about football speed and track speed. Like, you might be running fast on a track, but when
Right.
you put them pads on and stuff like that,
Right. If somebody jam you up on that line, throw you up,
it's
you're like, oh shit.
completely different. Same
Right.
thing here. So
Yep.
yeah. So thanks for sharing that, man. But
Yeah.
well, cool. Well, we have a wonderful guest tonight, someone that we know well, have worked with a bunch,
Yeah.
and I want to say we met her at that. At least I met her at Twain's back in the
Okay.
day. On actually our session with Joe. This had to be 2010,
Wow.
11, something like that. Is that right? Is it, when did that session start?
It started somewhere around there, maybe 2008,
Maybe a
2009.
little earlier,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
yeah. But she came in with her, at the time we didn't know, but her husband to be,
Right,
um,
right.
Tommy Sauter, who we know well and have played hundreds of gigs with.
His first gig was in Atlanta was with me and Ben Taylor. He was subbing for what's this cat's name? He moved to Las Vegas, a bass player. Oh, Joseph Patrick Moore. And it
Okay.
was at the Grape restaurant, and that's when Tommy first came into town.
Okay. Well, Tommy, the first gig I played with him, I know he was actually, I want to say, subbing on a rehearsal
Oh wow.
with Takana Miyamoto.
Oh, cool.
And he had just moved in town from Knoxville.
Oh, he was
But we're
young
talking about
too.
Tommy Sauter, upright. What'd you say?
He was young, boy. He looked like Clark Kent.
Man.
No, he just had straight glasses, bruh. He was young.
But he was all about the music, though.
Oh, he was.
I'll tell you that. He was all about. He was like, and had the sound and all that stuff. But
He went
anyway,
to
that's
Taylor too,
so we had a relationship with him. Playing at Houston's, playing a bunch of different gigs and stuff, and then his wife now, who we're about to bring up, I started working with, I don't know, maybe a few years ago. I mean, like really working with, maybe like a few years ago, and have been working with her on a couple of her projects. I always kid with her because I'm like, man, if you had come out about 25 years ago, you'd have been at Red Rocks, all that stuff, man. I mean,
right.
I just can't believe how good she is sometimes in the music. And we're going to talk about, her records and her projects, and she's got some other things that are,
And been in movies. She's been in
yeah,
a movie too, yeah.
she's been in movies. So without further ado, we are going to bring in our friend and great artist, the great Leah Calvert.
Leah.
Hello.
Y'all make me sound so good. I want to know me more.
Okay, well, let's see. All right, I'll bring you. I'll push you out. Okay, let's talk about Leah. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We can bump it up some more.
You know you're good.
We can bump it up some more for a small fee. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Even more than a morning pay.
Oh yeah.
We take Venmo. We take Venmo, PayPal, Cash App,
Zelle,
Plastic. Whatever EBT you got. We even take cash. We even take cash.
You even take cash. Yeah, that's what I'm going for now. A joint that actually takes cash.
Right. Even your tip jar can't be cash anymore, right?
Yeah.
Man,
even my homeless guys that are around my job sites have Cash App now. So I'm just like, I can't give you anything else.
You can't even lie anymore. Hey, bro, I don't have any cash. Yo, I got Cash App.
I got Cash App.
They walking around with QR codes, man. They're walking around with QR codes.
Right.
Man.
Everybody's got it figured out except me.
Man. Oh, man. Well, listen, thank you for joining us. We've been trying to get you on for a little while, and I feel like you're sort of a really great your story in terms of not only what you're doing musically, but then what I guess you could say you do for a living is man, completely different. So we'll get to that. Let's just start with, give us a little bit of where you're from, and give us a little bit of your upbringing, and and how do you sort of started getting into playing music?
Okay. ATL all the way. In utero, ATL. Yep.
Okay.
So always lived in Atlanta. Always meant to leave. Haven't really figured out how to get out of here yet. So I just decided to like stay. um, and so yeah, that's cool. But I like Atlanta. It does me well. And yeah, I grew up playing like fiddle and bluegrass and stuff like that. I actually grew up going to these jam sessions at Fido's when it used to be down in Buckhead. So when I was a teenager, I would just go to those, like, they were like, most of it was Irish music. So
Okay.
I played classical and bluegrass and all that kind of stuff on violin. But that was like the first, I don't think I would play music if it weren't for jams like that. Because like in a welcoming jam in that kind of setting, especially being a kid, like, I mean, I'm sure y'all know as well as like everybody out there who plays music, like a jam situation, like it gives you like a good healthy one. It gives you like you can kind of do what you want to do. You can kind of sit in the back a little bit, at least in those kind of jams with like it's a little different with jazz jams. But like, you know, you've got like an older crowd who's doing the thing, who's kind of the inner circle, and you got the, you know, the outer circle, people kind of learn and stuff. So I grew up playing in those jams and then just playing a ton of like in the like Americana music scene in Atlanta. I had a bluegrass band for a really long time that we did some stuff. That was when we did that Justin Timberlake movie.
Right.
Was with them. So stuff like that, you know. And then I just don't know. I've been exposed to so many different types of music that is, you know, I just am following whatever, you know, music Jones that is, you know, just trying to reach that thing. So I've never been able to stick with one genre. It's a little tough. So
What about the singing? You talked about your fiddle playing, but when did your singing come
mm,
into to play?
I don't really know. I guess maybe when I was like my late teens or something like that, I kind of discovered I could sing. I I was in some musicals and stuff like that in high school, and I really couldn't act and I really couldn't dance, but I guess I had a big voice, and so she'd give me like these good parts and stuff. So that was kind of cool. I discovered it kind of in that way, but mostly in the beginning, I was a violin player. So, um, like that was kind of a lot of my music is like very melody centric as opposed to like chord based. And so that's where like a lot of it develops sort of from that angle of things as opposed to like getting a guitar and sussing out chords. And like I've kind of like gone back to that a little bit recently, but that's kind of a lot of it really comes from that structure of having learned like Suzuki and classical in the beginning. So
Right.
So what kind of things were you listening to around the house? What kind of music was playing when you were growing up? How did you sort of start to build such a broad spectrum of just listening to a lot of different styles?
I mean, all kinds of stuff. Like I mean everything from like Glenn Miller to The Police to Yes, a lot of Yes. I really, really love
Okay.
Yes, which I feel like
Okay.
later now like has really influenced a lot of how I think. And I like all I really need to like I feel like if I can just have like a choir, then I can die and I will have been able to achieve all my musical goals.
Okay.
But listening to Yes and just like that vocal harmony is like there's something that's so like enigmatic and powerful about like human voice. Like have you
Mhm.
ever heard like that Eric Whitaker, you know, that choral arranger, that guy? He has
Yeah.
some just
No.
really cool, super cool stuff. But yeah, so that kind of thing. I guess I got like trying to think over time. I listened to like I had when I was in college, I had an Eastern European like a band that kind of did mostly Eastern European music, and so
Mhm.
I listened to like all kinds of stuff like that. just a ton of that, like traditional music. And then more recently, like in the last 10 years or so, it's been like a lot of Brad Mehldau and a lot of like I don't know. It really is just like kind of all over the place. I mean, I can truly tell you that I listen to all things.
Well, I want to go back
like,
to. I'm going to ask one question for Tyrone. Just give me one more question. Is because I'm a big Yes. So, what's your favorite Yes album? Mine's Close to
oh
the Edge.
yeah, probably like there's a really awesome remastered. I can't remember what record it is, but there's a really awesome remastered version of Roundabout that's like, and it just is kind of this. I can't remember what record it's on
Well,
though, but
Roundabout, I think,
that
is on
record to me.
Fragile. Is that on? I think that's on Fragile.
Yeah,
I think.
but there's another one that's like a kind of a live remastered version that's just like super extended, and I think it's not on
Mm-hmm.
that, but I'd have to go look at it.
Well,
But it's
yeah, the live album was. I think it was Yes Songs, maybe something like that.
maybe that's what it
But
was. Yeah, it was
mm,
the live records are always like the live ones are always kind of
yeah,
pivotal. Like, there's
right,
something raw about it. And
right.
I've made a lot of records myself. Well, not I try not to do that now, but I've made a lot of records in my past that where, I mean, sure we've all made that record, especially in the beginning when you were making records where it's like you want to like everything has to be super perfect, and then you go back and listen to it and you're like, God, I just took all the life out of it with all my
Right.
nitpicking.
All the
Right.
We were just
Yeah.
talking about that. Tyrone and
Yep.
I were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How a lot of the music that we love is far from perfect. I mean, you go back and
Hmm.
listen to it, stuff is speeding up, slowing down, somebody's out of tune.
Yeah.
Feedback.
Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
but it has nothing to do with it's all about the soul of the music, and
Hmm.
yeah, so all of that's been extracted for perfection, which is
Yeah.
kind of where we are.
Yeah,
So,
Leah, I had actually had two questions for you. The first one being when you're talking about composing music, what is your, I mean, it can be a lot of vehicles, but what is your method of writing? Is it from the voice or from the piano or from the violin? And my second question before I forget is when you were talking about Eastern music, Eastern European music, do
Mhm.
you do you learn that from the lens of what you already have, like Western or American type of training, or do you try to look at it from the aspect of what Eastern European music is, whatever that is, whatever system that they have? Because it seems like it's a different system. If you want to kind of deal with that, some how would you put that or frame it?
Yeah, I would have to say that I'm not so much a connoisseur that I'm actually seeking out the methodology behind learning an Eastern European tune, but there are a lot of really fabulous recordings of that are, of people from those regions. Like, I mean, this isn't Eastern European, but like Jacob de Bandolim, he did all that like crazy awesome music from Brazil. And so he's playing mandolin and that's like all regional. And so going back and
Right,
learning those tunes like verbatim, I mean, that's about as close as I personally can get to it.
right,
And now it's even easier. Like, I don't know how I didn't realize this, but in the last like 5 or 6 years, but I didn't realize you could slow everything down on YouTube. And once I found that, I was like, oh my God, like
right,
screw amazing slower downer. Like I could like
right,
YouTube is incredible. So
right.
like yeah. Um so yeah, I
Learning by
mean,
listening is really, I mean, you don't have to superimpose any theory on it because you're listening to the music, and at that point you're just trying to figure out how to play a certain thing, like if it's a slur or if there's a pitch bend. You're not saying, oh, this is based off the Mixolydian scale. No, you're like, okay, they're bending this note or they're doing this semitone. How do I get around that,
well, and that also kind of goes back to like like I do have some big musical holes. Like I came from music like I said from Suzuki method, from like learning like oral tradition. And so like while I do understand chord structure and I do understand that to some extent, like I'm really lucky because I get to play with lots of really, really fabulous musicians who don't have holes in their musical knowledge. And so I get to kind of lean on them. But like to answer your first question, which was most of my stuff is composed melodically. So I'll come up with like a melody. Sometimes I have like chords on a piano. Like sometimes I don't really play guitar, but in public, but I'll like screw around with chords and come up with a song, you know. But for the most part, like I just try to flesh out like the structure and the words and the melody. And then a lot of times, like I see Neil's name in our little comment list. It looks like he might even be on here, and people are saying his name, which is appropriate.
Neil Fountain. Neil Fountain. I said Neil. I just put Neil. I saw him in there.
But he's in there. Neil is in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Neil and I have a record together that we did that's kind of like a COVID baby. And we did student event. Sorry, personal jokes between that guy. Yeah, I mean, like Neil and I have this record, and a lot of it's pretty 50-50. Like a lot of times I would come with like kind of a pretty like a sort of outline of what I'm thinking. And I work a lot off of like visuals in terms of like interpreting. Like I have a visual that I'm trying to relate, which I can talk to you about my zombie musical if you want at some point tonight.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not on drugs or anything.
Zombie musical. Okay.
So anyway, like I would come with like the lyric and the melody, and then he would like have some kind of just like really mind altering chord structure to kind of put behind that, or he might have a melody and like we would just kind of like work. It was like a pretty nice little working situation, and it's a fabulous record. Like it definitely
is.
It ticked a lot of boxes for me in terms of what I want to try to put out there.
Great.
So did you do any kind of schooling? Did you go to music school at all? Or was that ever something that you wanted to do? Or did you?
No,
I mean, you don't need it at all. But go ahead, answer the question.
That's true. That's true. I was just asking. I
don't want you to feel bad because you saved a lot of money. Let me just you saved a lot of money.
Coming from someone who
yes.
Yeah. No, I never did music school. I kind of wish that I had. I wish that I had well, in some ways I do. I wish that I had like had a different approach coming in, but I also like didn't really have like, you know, I came from the school of parenting or not my parenting skills, but the people that came before me who parented me, like, you know, it's a generation that's not real into like, they're like, you have your vocation and you have the thing that you like to do on the side. And then, you know, but make sure you have that job with the health insurance.
I think we all have come. I think we all came from that, actually.
Yeah. So it took me like, you know, into my 30s. And then I was like, okay, I like myself. It's cool. I'm just going to do what I like to do instead of what I think other people want me to do.
Right.
So, yeah.
That dichotomy of doing what you love and doing what that can sustain you. Sometimes as a musician, it's rare to be able to do both of those things. And I mean, you could probably talk about that a little bit because it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. It's like, okay, I make all my money from music and yet it's still my main, you know, it's not my main thing. Like you could still have music as your main thing and not making your money totally from music, right? Is that possible in your eyes?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I made music my thing for a really long time, but it honestly wasn't until I had something else that was making more of my money for me, where I was able to like, because my real job is fine. I like it. Or I say real. See, I'm still talking like that. Like that's horrible. It's like I'm all in the system. Yeah. So that affords me the opportunity to like actually make the thing the way I want to make it, instead of like taking some like, let me come over to your house between like 9 and 10 o'clock and we'll try to like get it in, it's like
Right.
I just want to pay for it, and I want it to be like super badass, and I don't want
Right.
I don't want to cut any corners. I want it to
Right.
look good, and I want it to sound the best it possibly can sound.
Right.
And within reason. I mean, I'm not on Epic Records or anything. It's like, or if that's even a record.
Well, I
Um,
think you have an organic, you're very passionate about, and it's coming from just the music that you love. You put all
mhm.
those things together, and that's what gives you, I think, a unique sound. Tyrone
Yeah.
and I, we were just talking about that is, bands used to have a sound. It was a sound
Oh,
that
for
they
sure.
had.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
and a lot of those, again, those people that we love weren't schooled. They didn't. They were just they were going off of the records and the people that they loved and trying to find their own vibe to that. And I think
Mhm.
you have a very unique skill set in that also, where you're putting together a lot of different, your music is very, for lack of a better word, eclectic, right? Which can be the worst thing that somebody can ever say about your music, but it has a lot of different influences in it,
Mhm.
and that,
And it's
I think,
complex
is
too. It's
it is
it's some
complex.
complexities where you have jazz musicians liking it, because jazz musicians are haters. We're some of the biggest
Yeah.
haters.
Big time, the worst.
I live with one. Yeah.
Hey, she lived with the ultimate one.
If I had 50% for every time he came home and complained about a gig, like I wouldn't have to have a job. It's like
That would be your job right there.
that would be
But how
my
can you
job.
tell? How can you tell? He always has the same look on his face. Like,
I'm not supposed to be laughing at that. That's
He's like,
bad.
I had
I hope
fun.
he's watching. I hope he's watching. He's gonna get me for that one. But
No. He did
yeah,
say to say
but it's
hi.
true.
He did say that. He's
Okay,
he's
cool.
he's
But
back there with his bass trying to
yeah.
practice, but really
Well,
just playing chess.
but that's interesting. That's an interesting thing that you said, Ty, because she has a super high level jazz musician
Yeah.
as a husband
Yeah.
that is absolutely no nonsense about. I mean, there's other
But she
things, of
gets to
course, that
tell
he
him what
likes.
to do on the gigs, which I love. Like,
Oh, I've seen that in person. I've seen that in person.
I
We could
love
talk.
it.
We could talk about that all day. But there is, I think, there's some. That's a. I mean, it's kind of a double edged sword, obviously. But you at least, but there's a certain standard there in terms of, um, how jazz musicians think versus how a pop musician would
Oh,
think
100%.
about music. So you're
Yeah.
definitely dealing with and being influenced by a higher level of thinking without a doubt. And I feel like, not necessarily just because of that, but also because that you grab so many different elements of music and you put them in, and then you also have a lot of musicians who are schooled in jazz that play on your material also. Um, so that also kind of influences the sound a little bit, because I think when I met you, I'm trying to think, man, the first time I met you, I know
Mhm.
it was at Twain's, and I want to say we did a version of All the Things You Are. You were singing and playing
Mhm.
fiddle on, and that I was like,
Yeah.
what? Wait a second, you know? And so even a tune like that, which is, not an easy tune. How did you get into starting to learn, some standards and some more complex things like that?
I mean, they were just always melodies that were like, I think because I'm so melody centric and in terms of how I create, like they're just more appealing. I mean, there's not a lot. I mean, nothing against pop music. Pop music is a thing because it appeals to pop culture, and that's a lot of people, and that's
Right.
awesome. But always like if you want something interesting to listen to, I mean, that is like the draw of jazz. Like, there's so much melody, even that you're not even hearing within the actual melody. Like, there's like the melodies within the inner workings of the chord change or whatever. It's like there's so much going on there. Like, it's just fun to kind of get in and mix up with that. And I think I mean, I play a lot of I play for people who play pop music, and and that music has its place too. So
No question.
but yeah, for me, like, at least with a lot of the stuff that I am creating, I want it to be, I've really made it, I really want to make it exist within the world of art, because if you trying to put it out there and like put all this money behind it, or try to put it, push people to want to like it or whatever, I don't have an interest in that, because then I start to be influenced by, I never want to ask myself the question of what do people want to hear? Am I making something people want to hear? I don't ever want that to cross my mind, at least when I'm making my art, because then like you're just being influenced by things that are not like, not you don't want that influence. I don't want to create, like, I'm not making sandwiches. Like, if I wanted to do that, then I could go to Subway. So it's like I would just want to make something that I truly really love. I want to hear it, and I want to create this thing that I want to see. Like, so I made all these videos over at 1093 in Athens, which is a really awesome studio that it's still a studio. Jim Hawkins used to own it, and they turned. It was like, I was really happy with the way they turned out. Like, we did them all live. We had a friend of ours like videotape it, and it was all the original stuff with Marlon Patton and Nick Johnson and Neil Fountain, and Luca Lombardi played the bass. And they turned out really well, and it was just, I mean, but that was the thing, like, there is no, I mean, who knows, they probably have 200 views, I mean, but most of those were probably me. but they're really really good, and I'm like, it's like, and I can only say this because I have spent a long time making music where I wouldn't listen to what I made. I would, like, for years I wouldn't. I still probably don't do this, but like, if I play on the record, it's very likely I'll never listen to it. If I made like those first records that I made, I won't listen to them, because like I just am so, how it is, you make a record and you're just like, oh god, I just like, I'm gonna go hide under a rock and just like never come out again. But these weren't like that. And I was like, finally, like, getting into my late 30s, I started making stuff that I was like, okay, I actually, like, all I wanted to do was make something that I would put in my own speakers and listen to. And like, finally, like, I was able to feel like I could do that. And that was really helpful.
I was at a Red Light Cafe when it was you, Tommy Sauter, Kina Boto, and Louis Harivo. And
oh, really?
Oh my goodness.
Woo! I could already hear that.
Edge of my seat. I was yelling. I was like, whoa. And I was like, it was a new thing, especially for me to hear that. And I was like, I didn't even know what to call it, but hip. That's all I call it. I was like, I envied Louis, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not in that chair. I can just listen to it without saying to myself, wonder what I would do in there. I know, I was just listening to it, and I was like, oh, that is so dope. I'm saying to myself, why didn't I think about that? Yeah. So I don't know if y'all recorded that project or not, but it was killing, man. It really left an indelible mark on my mind of the combinations of not just the instruments, but the people, because here you have like Louis and Tommy get each other. That's a twin kind of thing. That's a weird thing. As weird as Tommy is, Louis is just as weird, but that bebop approach modern Mulgrew Miller kind of thing that Lewis has. And then you put on somebody like Kina, who's very organic and has these maybe African type of rhythms and stuff like that. And then you put the bluegrass and all the other influences that you have together.
Yeah,
you're like,
man. Yeah.
How's this working? It's like this
Yes,
gumbo that has a great flavor to it.
That's
and
it.
so, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Can you talk about that
so
coming
That's
together?
Really... Yeah, I mean, that was actually kind of funny. I mean, I guess Kino's not really doing a whole lot anymore. He's playing drums with his kids, and that's fabulous. But yeah, we had just done, Tommy and Kina and I we got some gig out at like a strip mall in like Woodstock or something like that, and we were like playing out. I mean, it's just like one of those gigs where you're like, how in the world? What in the world am I doing? And like, you wouldn't do it if it weren't like this. Like, oh, Kina wants to go play a gig at a Woodstock strip mall. Sure, I'll go.
Right.
And, so we went, and it was just a trio, and we just played all this kind of weird stuff. And he would play guitar. Kina would play guitar sometime, and I don't know, I still have some of those recordings. And actually, like, it was really fabulous at some point during that period of time. This is actually cool. He came over to the house, and I just asked him, I was like, can you play some drums for me? Because at the time, I actually had not really worked with any drummers, like, just coming from my background, like, you know, bluegrass is like guitar and bass, and that's kind of occupies that drum space. And like some banjo, and there's like, we kind of, you know, it's a different kind of rhythmic, I mean, it's all rhythm, but it's all just a different sort of space. And so drums are kind of a different thing. So I was like, can you come over, can you just do these drums, just play drums? So he came over, and I hit record, and for like an hour and a half, he just played all kinds of random stuff, and it's
I want to hear that. I want to hear that.
Yeah,
do you still have that? Do you still have that?
Yeah, of course I have that.
I need a copy of that. I need a copy of that.
Yeah. Well, it's incredible. And so actually what happened was like I go back a lot of times, actually. I went back and I chopped them all up to kind of like just give it, you know, some, like, to have little listening sections. And I'll go back and over the years, and I just go back to that and kind of listen for thoughts. And like, you know, sometimes, like, who knows what your influence is or what just gets you going when it comes to a song. It could be a bird in the sky, and it, you know, it could be a heavy metal song you write, you know, it's like, but there's all kinds of ways that you get to that, like, to the tune or to the piece of art. And so it's nice to just be able to have, like, those little creations that he made were really incredible. So, cool. But just to answer your question, though, with the Kina thing, like, I do have a lot of those recordings, and that was like really powerful because he has like this like incredible way of just, I mean, you saying organic like that, it's like I don't think I've played with anybody that actually is just putting all of their stuff out there. And also too, like, you have to like place, like, he's a really great example of someone that, like, when you're in an artistic setting like that, I think we should all do this. Like, we all need, like, y'all were talking earlier about how there was I didn't get the whole conversation because I was having trouble like getting this thing loaded, but you're kind of talking about some folks that had gone to a gig and they didn't prepare, and the people were like kind of as tepid, the response. Like he's a really good example of, like, when you do go into a setting with people that you're going to play with, you owe it to every single person in that group to be 100% your best. And if you're not, then I don't understand why you'd show up. And now, don't get me wrong, I went to lots of gigs. I've even been on, like, the bride's been walking down the aisle and I'm like listening to her song and I'm trying to play it. That's how irresponsible I've been as a musician in my life. But but not in the last like 15 years.
Right. So. But that's a different thing. You know, we don't need to. I mean, we've all been there. That's a completely different thing. But but when you talk about, you know, being able to give it your all at that time that you're, man, that's not easy. I mean, there's times when, especially if it could just be wrong place, wrong time. And, you know, but I do know there's only a few guys that I just see and I'm like, man, how do you are always on 10, regardless of the situation, regardless of what's going on around you. You are like 100% inside of what, where, you know, I will check out quickly. I mean, I think I'm better. Just as you said, it's just, you know, you mature the things and you get better about certain things. And I think that it's not that I think I play the same from the first note to the last note. That's one of the greatest compliments I've ever got. It's like, man, you play just as strong, but mentally you can be in a completely different place. And that's a tough thing to overcome. So I don't know what you think about that, Tyro. I mean, I don't know what you know,
I think of Leah being from a different planet, man. Leah is very much like that. Like I was like, when I first heard Leah play, I was like, where's all this coming from? Then she'll pack up her stuff and leave. You like, where did she come from? Where did she go? Did she get beamed up to a ship or something? You know, so
but don't you think though, Leah, Kina, they've chosen what they want to play and what they don't want to play. Whereas, you know, in other words, you're not at the beck and call of trying to make every dollar that you make from the music business. And because that's a tough play. I mean, do you think that has something to do with it? Because you've been very wise in your decision to, you may look at it as because you say, oh, I wish I had done things such and such, but you've always been able to pretty much play what you want to play. Would you disagree with that or agree with that?
I mean, I see why you think that. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Is that not true?
No, I think that probably
Am I lying?
True. Like,
okay.
No, you're not lying. I think the thing is it's like, you know, like I've gone through any musician who wants to stay a musician, you've got to like do a lot of work internally in order to like, or you just like end up drinking your life away or whatever. Like, so it's like, you got to like go inside and you got to be like, what do I want? And like, how do I get that thing? And yeah, I mean, at some point, like it hasn't really been that long. It's just that like when I had like this opportunity to play with people like you guys, to play with Kina, to play with like, you know, Neil Fountain, like, you know, it's like, you know, yeah, I mean, I've not brought all my A game to all my things that I do, but like when I realized that it was just so much more satisfying, and like not to mention it's like, you know, the reciprocity between the team that, you know, whenever you're on a stage, like you need that. Like that is like, you owe that, we owe that to each other. And if we don't do that, then like, you know, then we can just go play 100 Emerald Empire gigs a year and just be like, yeah, we play music, we're musicians, you know, but nobody wants to do that.
Right.
You know?
But look what the last, well, I can't say the last gig because the last gig we were at you guys' house, and I'm sure we're going to talk about your concert series. But the time before that, Neil Fountain, myself, you and Tommy, and Dave Pope. Remember Victor Wooten was over there, and
that was fun. That was cool.
Yeah, and you were killing it. You did more of a contemporary thing. What's the name of that group? Not Alpha
Hiatus
Myth.
Coyote.
Alpha Myths, yeah. That was
Yeah.
killing. And Neil came up there and y'all did a couple of songs together, and that was cool. I've heard Neil play before, but I've never been that up and close and personal to see Neil do what he does, which is incredible, playing the bass and
Mhm.
chords and all that kind of stuff, and see you fit right in there. I always think of you, Leah, as a musician rather than just a singer. And sometimes there's a difference, but you're an incredible vocalist. Like I always think that you're one listen away of really blowing up for your artistry and what where you are. I'm serious.
Oh,
I think you're just like
I
one
really
listen away.
oh, you're so sweet.
And then everybody's gonna look
Well,
back at your discography and like, oh, look at this. Kind of like they did Prince. Remember Prince when they heard like the first Prince stuff, that not the first stuff, but the later stuff, then they started going backwards. So I think that's how it's gonna be for you.
maybe we'll see. I don't know.
I
I
like it.
mean, yeah. I mean, I want to make music that, it's funny. Can I talk about SoFar concerts real quick?
Yeah.
Y'all know about those things? Have you heard about
No,
those?
but you're about to
Okay.
tell us now. No.
I'm just gonna tell you. So yeah, so there's these. I'm not trying to blow up them or anything because they've been blown up enough. But there's a concert series of a company that's based in London, and they're called SoFar. And so they basically do. It's like there's a bunch of companies that do this kind of thing, and like candlelight concerts or something like that.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a couple
sure.
of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so they basically solicit venues, like it's maybe a brewery or like the lobby of like a hotel or whatever, and then you'll go to the space and they have like a whole clientele. And so as a listener you pay $30 ish, and you have like a general idea as to the part of town you're going to, and then you buy the ticket, and then like the day of the event they'll tell you where you go. And so as a listener you've paid $30 in advance to see some people. You don't know who they are, you don't know exactly where you're going, and you're supposed to go, and people show up in droves. And
Wow.
I wouldn't pay $10 to go somewhere where I didn't know where I was going and not know what I was going to see. But these people
Like a secret,
so,
secret society or something like that kind of thing.
yeah, like there's that element to it, which I think people want that experience, which is like mysterious, and so that's cool. Like, but like it's been, I did the first one. They don't pay the musicians like anything. They pay them literally $100 every time you do the thing. But what's interesting is I've been going and doing these things and just getting all the emails, and that's been really helpful. And but the other thing is too is cultivating an audience that is just like a totally different audience in Atlanta that like I think none of us know exists. And it's like growing up in Atlanta playing bluegrass music, most of my audience is like this very specific aging out audience of people who like they're like, oh, Leah, she played fiddle when she was 14, she's so cute, and like that's all they really know about me. So it's like when I play them like my new stuff, they're like pretty alienated, and they're like, well, that's cute, she keeps playing music. And it's like I really needed for myself, I really needed to like go find another audience, because it's like when you all you have like you have an audience in front of you, like you need something back from them. And if they already have this preconceived notion of like what you've done or where you've been, like it makes it kind of challenging to develop as a musician, because like even though you're not creating music like with the explicit intent of people that's what they want, like you still need feedback from a group of, that's what we do as artists.
Right.
And so that's been really cool actually. So to create like, so basically that leads me to like our house concerts we're having. And basically that was the whole point of me doing the SoFar, so that I could get the emails from the SoFar folks, and I could kind of like use that to proliferate like some other stuff that I feel like I just want to like, I feel like if these people knew that these musicians who are spending all this time and energy playing for them, like they're happy to pay $30. Why can't we just eliminate the middleman and like where is all this money going? I mean, you have literally there's 85 people there. They've all paid $30 and somehow the musicians like there's a $300 payout because there's usually 3 groups. There's a $300 payout for the artist.
Man.
I mean,
right.
That's like
insane.
That feels really wrong. Yeah.
Yes,
so
it's insane. That's insane.
Mhm.
Well, let's talk about your house concert. Just before we get there, I just wanted to talk a little bit about your record, Satellite, first, and then which I wanted to kind of show people what the cover is here. And you need to go get this, download it. I don't know how they can they buy it, where. I'm sure Spotify, everything is available, but this is a really incredible record that was produced by two good friends of ours, Marlon Patton, right, and Rick Lawler. I think worked on this with you.
Yep.
And this was sort of my introduction to. I mean, I think we had done a couple of gigs, but this is really my introduction to your songs and getting to play your songs in a live format and hearing how powerful and incredible these songs are. So just quickly, just kind of talk a little bit about this record and where people can check it out. And, how did this project sort of come about?
I think this was kind of my first attempt to make something that was purely like sort of my vision of things. In the past, I'd sort of more specifically worked in a band setting. It was written, you can see that little cherubic face in there is my now 8-year-old. So she was very young at that point, but most of these songs were written in homage of her. And yeah, so that's what that's all about. And they're trying to think of all the tunes on there. I think Lewis kind of helped write a few of those songs. And yeah, it's bad that I don't actually remember a ton about it now, but
don't worry about it. I've been checking it out while y'all were talking. Wild Things, Build a Ship, 2 lines up on a page. And then I just got to Satellite and I had to stop it because it was rolling. I was like, oh, I'm not going to listen to the rest of the thing. It was killing. Then This Is Noun, Sleep, Cider Theme, Liquor and Consequence, and a Consequence, Day After Tomorrow, and American Gallows.
Yeah. Yeah, so
and
I mean, most of it we just recorded at Marlon's house, and I think all of it, and we just mostly Marlon and I kind of really produced the thing, and Rick definitely was in a lot of that as well.
We miss Marlon's studio and house, by the way.
No question.
We just missed that creative space where it's not going to cost us an arm and a leg, and he was down for the cause.
That's right.
And some people have come into the city charading like they are that, and they're not.
Charade.
So, yeah, so we need that again. So
that's true. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, he's a really special, wonderful person, and is doing some fabulous things up in New York City. He's got a new project that he did with Dave and with this lady Paolo Pristini, and Eva's birthday is in April, so Eva and I are gonna go up there and see the show. But it's
nice.
It'll be cool. It's always really like he just has so many fabulous ideas, and he's actually working with me with Chris. The project that Chris and I have played a lot with is with my music partner Michael Smith, and so we've been like slowly trying to finish a record that we're making there, which is just me and tunes that Michael and I have written, and it's more in the like, I don't know, is that more Americana genre specific?
Yeah, I would say, but there's still there's still other influences there, and that's
Sure.
a good segue to just what you're kind of doing with your project with Michael, who I've gotten to know.
And I've talked to. We're trying to get you at the Balls and Theater.
Yeah,
So yeah,
just over the
Mhm.
last
Yeah.
couple of years of playing with you guys and playing shows, and he's
Yeah.
another just great guy, great singer,
Mhm.
great writer, and so you guys are, this is sort of, I think, even though you have other things going on, but this is sort of would you say this is your main sort of project or band right now at the time? Is the stuff that you're doing with
I don't
Michael, or
I don't know.
it kind
I
of
mean,
comes and
I would
goes?
love to say, yeah, it just sort of comes and goes because we try to
Hmm.
hustle gigs and stuff like that. It's hard to hustle gigs in it's just hard to hustle a gig that
It
is where
is,
you can
man.
do a creative
Especially,
thing.
and it's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I think it's, we've talked about this, is if you're really good, you're kind of in no man's land right now with trying to get your show uh
um,
at a venue, at a great, at a at a theater, or at a and you guys definitely fall into that category of the highest level of whatever. It's just music. I don't care. I don't know what to call it, but it's
yeah.
got elements again of pop and bluegrass, and then there's certain elements of soul and funk and jazz and a lot of different
Mhm.
stuff going on. And it
Yep.
should be, you guys should be touring the world with this stuff. And it's but it is what it is. But just like you said, it's it's hard hustling gigs. Um
Yeah.
when you have that kind of great stuff, so it just kind of comes and goes. So you have a record with Michael that's, you guys are almost finished, is what you were saying?
Yeah, Marlon was produced he produced it for us. And it's we're just about done mix. It's an EP, so there's I think what does that
Okay.
mean? 8 songs, something like that.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
so yeah, we were just trying to like come up with something that, you can you can have to possibly hustle a gig at a festival or something like
Hmm.
that. But you never know. I mean, it I try not to I don't wanna let that stuff get me down because 'cause I've let that kinda
Right.
stuff, like, with
Right. Right.
it's like all the you chalk it up to judgment, and it's not really that, it's just, it's not that your music's bad, it's not
no,
that you're not a good musician, it's none of that stuff,
it's your
it's just
creation.
how things
It's your
yeah, yeah,
creation. You put it out there. It might not be
mhm,
consumed by the masses, but it's also people will be touched by it, or you're hoping that your art translates to product that you created, not necessarily pandering to people. You could definitely do
absolutely,
that and hope to make some money, but at the end of the day, you might not be happy at what you've become pandering to the masses, you know?
Right.
mhm,
So, and there's some
yeah,
people who are cool with that, and that more power to them.
Right.
yeah,
But you're an
yeah, I
artist. Is
mean,
that
yeah.
good?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, you said something earlier, Chris, about someone one of the best compliments you ever gotten was this, and it's like, I mean, if I think about it, like I can probably count on one hand, like the compliments from like an audience after hearing a song, and there's like I'm sure there's more, but like at least 5 of those things are they're so powerful that I could be okay with that. Like, I mean, that you've touched one person like so seriously with one thing that you've written. I mean, I'm sure y'all both have had that experience before.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
like that's really powerful. I mean, like, you know, I I'm a firm believer in like the collaborative artist experience with that's it's a collaboration with the people that are listening to us, and um you know it's pretty awesome when one person, even in a crowd of 100, comes up and is like, "You don't understand how much you actually." We wrote this record, the Dapple Grays and I did, and this was like a while ago, and it's called "Doing My Job." And this guy, he was the Terminex guy at my house, and we would just chit chat, and now he was like, and I gave him the record, and um he I guess he got my email from like the corporate, because I guess they don't like, he's just that guy, or somehow he got my email, and he wrote me this long email about how, I mean, it's very sad, but I guess his older son had committed suicide, and he had the record, and he was like, listening to this record got me through one of the hardest periods of my life, and being able to like grieve for my son. And I was just like, man, like that I mean, that is incredible that I could help you do that, and I didn't even mean to, like, I'm glad that like just it's a human connection, and that's like what we're striving for, I would hope. So
Man, I gave my record to the insurance adjuster for my house, and he evaluated my house less than what it really. So I mean, obviously my record didn't have the same effect. I was like, dang, should have wrong with something else.
You need to bury one of them jokers somewhere, so that the next homeowner finds it. Like,
I gave him my record. I gave my Terminex guy the record. I was like, "There's still roaches in my house."
I think I have more termites now. No, it's true story too. I gave it to him, and I never heard nothing from him. Man. Oh man! And all of a sudden, my evaluation was low. I was like, "Man, I can't even afford to refinance with this kind of evaluation."
Screw that guy.
Good.
Yeah. Well, then there's all the jokers who like. Yeah, who like troll you, and you're like, okay, well, whatever.
Right. I was low key trying to bribe him, though. I thought my music was going to do it, but I guess it didn't work. I guess. Yeah. Well, that's a great segue to the last time I played was with Chris at your house for the house concert series. Yeah. And I thought it's one of those spaces that you talked about where we could be ourselves, and maybe Chris could talk about it a little bit too, because Chris just called me to do it, but I didn't know what went into it. But I know Chris was like, we could do whatever we do. And oftentimes we don't have that green light. So can both of you guys kind of talk about, of course, the impetus behind the house concert? And Chris, when you got the call to be a part of it, what was your mindset about this house concert?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna let Leah just talk a little bit about your series, the house concert series, and how did that, you seem like there were a couple people in town that did that, and then it just kind of went away. I guess there's, the COVID, when COVID hit and all that stuff, and it kind of went away, but you've taken that, like, by the handle, and really are kind of running with it. So just tell people a little bit about what you're doing with your house concert series.
Sure. We have a very little house. It's not like it's not incredibly big. But years ago, like when I was younger and was like just kind of growing up in Atlanta playing music, I lived in a house with a bunch of guys. Like, do you know Ian Newberry? Do you know Ian Newberry, guitar player? So I lived with him and like all these other guys who we lived over in Kirkwood, and we had this cool house. Well, it wasn't that cool, but it was a big house, and we would have these really just fabulous music parties that were just like, I mean, like those are some really formidable experiences for me, because it's like, you got like people like young. So you got like young energies, like all these Georgia State jazz students, and they're like, it's like everybody's like really chill, hanging out. Like there's like this great music that's playing, like really intense thing going on. And then like, and everybody's totally quiet and like really focused on like the music that's being played. and I've been really lucky, like just over the years, like bluegrass really has that kind of like an Americana music. Like it's a little different than jazz because it's like, there's like, you're going out to like festivals, you're playing at night, you're playing at 2 a.m. next to a campfire. Like the instruments themselves are actually just like they work better in that environment than like, a keyboard or something like that. So like I was really just trying to recreate those moments because, you've got, and now like we all know people, now everybody's older and they have money and they can just pay a little something. And I was like, why in the world can we not be paid to do what it is we really love to do, which is play music on our own terms and not be, if you want to play a cover, play the cover, but I don't want like, my friend Eddie Owen, who owns um Red Clay Theater up in Duluth. I mean, he says like they'd be in the red if they weren't for cover bands. And it's just like I don't really actually don't believe that people only want to hear covers. I think it's just that that's what they know and it's easy to consume that. But if they were
Right.
really given like great music to try to get into, like they probably, if they were given other options, then they would consume differently. But yeah. So
Just real, yeah, I believe that too. I think it's what you're feeding people is what they're going to. If you feed them fast food, so many that's why
yeah.
everybody's going to get fast food. I mean, it's the same
Mhm.
thing with music. It's what you're feeding the masses is what they're going to accept. Whatever's on the radio, whatever's quick, whatever comes up on, and that's so I completely 100% agree with you that if there was
Yeah.
something different heard, then that would be in the game as well. But
Mhm.
that's not that's just not what's happening right now. So um and
Yeah, just trying to
Eddie,
flip that. Yeah.
go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
buddy. Well, I was just gonna
I was
say,
just
just
gonna.
trying to flip that script a little bit. That was all. Just
Mhm.
yeah. So,
And as an artist,
yes,
that's what
but
you
you.
should try to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah,
Hold on.
the house concert really, I think, plays into anything with acoustic instruments well. You know, um,
Mhm.
because there is a volume. You can't blow. You don't want to blow people um out of the
Oh,
place.
sure.
Yeah, there's a
So
threshold. You can't keep turning up to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You
right.
have
No.
to play within the means of the confines
Yeah.
Yeah, I
and
mean, you want it to
the
be
soul of the
You want it to be
instrument too.
listenable for everybody,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, a
So
real piano is hammers that's hitting strings,
Mhm.
right.
and your touch differs. There was another keyboard player, piano player that came out, and his touch was totally different from mine. And to
Mhm.
experience that, but on keyboard, you can't get that, It's
Right,
just
right, right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not a lot of
My
people. Oh,
totally. No,
no,
were
I was
you
gonna go
not a
ahead.
lot of
Go ahead.
people? Yeah, well, it was fun. It's just cool. My uncle actually, he grew up playing that piano and he moved to like a much smaller place and he was like, and it's nothing special, but it's like better than like, I mean, it may not be better than like the best keyboard, but I mean, there's still like a tonality to it that I think is sort of nice and resonant. So, and in
yeah.
that space, I think, but that's what I was going back to, like all of those like house concert things, party things we did as kids. Like there was just something really powerful about like just the intimacy of the space and like the energy that's kind of created with like having, a small group of people really intensely listening and then like a group of musicians really being able to explore whatever bounds that they whatever their boundaries are and push those a little bit. So,
How many shows have you guys done so far?
3, I think total. And then we've got one on Sunday, this Sunday, and there's still spots open if people want to come.
Yeah. So
Um,
so you got the twins.
mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, Hanyo
come.
and Eden Mastriani Levy. And Tommy's playing bass. Uh, and then I think Dave Potter's playing drums. I can't remember.
Okay, that makes
Um,
sense. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but they're really interesting if you haven't heard those guys yet. Hanyo has played a lot with me recently, and um, I really love I love his sense of melody. It's really pretty fascinating, and I actually hadn't really too worked a lot with like sax or anything, and so but he's really complimentary vocally. Like they can talk a lot within the music, and that's really fun. Um, but so this is him and his brother, and they're doing a bunch of original material. Um, and yeah, I'm
What time is
excited
it
to hear.
for on Sunday?
4 o'clock is doors, and then
Mhm.
5 o'clock is show, and the show usually is like probably no more than an hour and a half, and then people just sit around and talk, and there's usually some food um and some drinks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we just
Just
say $30 suggested donation.
right.
Yep.
And where can they go? Can they go to your website or website to? How do they buy a
Ticket.
reservation or a ticket?
Well, that's actually they can go to my website. If they go to my website, which is just leahcalvert.com, they can go on there and there's like a what's it called? The page where you go to like um
About
let me
page,
see.
calendar page.
Yeah, like the sign up page, like sign up for
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah, contact page. Then you just put your information in there and then I'll put you on the email list for it.
Okay.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
And then we
What's
just
also
yeah.
what's also cool about that is it's your neighborhood. It's neighborhood supported as well.
Mhm.
Um, you have a lot of people that are in your neighborhood that come, and that's a nice event for. They can walk down to the house and bring a bottle of
Yeah.
wine, or
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, it's worked out really well. And we've actually been able to have like 100% of the money goes to the artists in this scenario. Um, like we are going to try to do a festival. Well, we are doing a festival in June. That's sort of a culmination of a lot of those things. That won't be 100% because I got to just pay to like have the sound done and those kinds of things. But
Hmm.
after I pay for the sound and like the permits, then like all the money goes to the artists. Um, so, and I'm working on trying to get that all together so we can kind of start promoting that.
So
Mhm.
that's your new.
But
That's something new. And that's kind of it's a festival is what you're kind of. Is
it's the
that?
beginnings of a festival. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the beginnings of
Hmm.
a festival. So, and it'll be in Cabbagetown, on Astoria Street. There's a friend of mine who's an artist who has a he's like a large format artist who does like a lot of huge sculptures and like marble things, and so his property is like super very Cabbage Towny, and super fun, and like it's very accessible like for Uber and all that kind of thing. And Kenny Banks Jr. is going to headline it for us.
Nice.
And yeah, and so and I've got and hopefully some other things that I think will be like that will be super cool, but I don't have them all like totally lined up yet. But I'll play in some capacity because I'm cheap. I work cheap for myself. And uh and yeah, and then we'll probably have like two other acts, but nothing like it won't be like an all day sort of thing. Like it'll be a food truck and some stuff like that. But just trying to kind of work it out all now. I'm gonna call it 100% artist. I've got a little logo, and
Nice.
it's gonna make some fun T-shirts that people will. I can get hot chicks to wear and walk around Cabbage Town.
Your daughter has inherited your entrepreneurial spirit. So
Man, don't get me started.
It's true. She's really talented. Yeah, we have that kind of thing. Yeah, she everything. She'll ask me every time. She's like, "Can I sell stuff here?" And I was like, "This probably you can't really sell stuff at this guy's wake. It's not really appropriate." But if you
Mommy, the people need lemonade at the wake.
But if you want to like give away,
they need art too.
They need art. But yeah, no, she's like, I'm proud of her. That's part of homeschooling.
I told him this story. So we were playing at From the Earth Brewery.
Yeah.
And we're setting up, to setting up our equipment, stuff like that. And I see Leah's daughter, well, maybe with like a little table or something, like a little fold up. But she's throwing these little figures kind of like at me and Luca, and all of a sudden we have like these paper made like little birds or figures or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that's cute, And we kind of, she's like, we're eating dinner and stuff, and she's throwing them around. And then next thing I know, we finish, I think, eating, and I go outside, and she's got a table with paintings, figurines, soap, literally outside. And I'm like, what's up with this? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, you got inventory? Like you got inventory. She's like, yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make more than you are tonight.
Oh.
Well,
I was like,
I will tell you, she was wrong about that particular night, but then like a month before, we had gone and played some gig, and I guess like we had gone and played the gig, and we had like a merch table sitting out, and I was like, why don't you work the merch? If people want to buy a t-shirt, like they can put the Venmo here, the PayPal here, or give you cash or whatever. And she's like, can I sell my stuff too? And I was like, sure, whatever. and I was like, whatever.
Can't make this up. Can't make it up.
And I come back, and she literally has made like $125 for herself, selling like origami and soap and like knickknacks and bric-a-brac. And I've got all of my t-shirts completely pristine. Nobody cares about that crap. And it's like, I'm pretty sure there was like, I didn't make anything that night. She definitely.
Right. So that she's going off of that. I know what she meant, but it was just funny when she said that, because there was so much confidence, man, in when she said that. And then I was just like, so then I was like, well, you need a manager. She's like, no, I don't. I said, yeah, you need security. I'm gonna be security. See, I want 10%. I want 10%. She's like, no. Yeah. She's like, no.
Dude, that's so Melvin Jones' daughters are acting and stuff like that. And Melvin came home from like doing a lot of stuff, and his youngest daughter was like, Dad, how much did you make today? He's like, I think I made about $200. She's like, $200? Like, Dad, I just made $5,000 for this one thing right here. He was like, what? I was like, that is cold, bro. And then the other thing I got to tell about that story too is that Melvin and his kids went to do a shoot for a commercial, and his wife, and they determined that Melvin didn't look like the father, so they hired another actor to play the father. So his wife, Jay, and his 3 kids were in a commercial with this other guy, this photo shoot commercial thing. And Melvin is like sitting on the side, like, apparently they don't look like I don't look like I belong with them. So
Hilarious,
wow.
man. Hilarious.
Soul crusher.
yes.
Funny.
If I find a picture, I'll send it to you guys. I'm gonna find it. And it's a guy. The guy looks good, but Mel was like, I guess I don't look like I belong, you know. Oh,
Neil says Ava paying the light bill. You got that right.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, you need to charge her rent. What's her rent? She need to get charged rent because
she's got her own piano in the workroom and stuff. I mean, she's balling, man. She played the piano for me. Yeah.
That girl plays like her instrument is way worth more than Tommy and I's. And like I'm like, you don't even know like how good you have it. Like you get to play this, like you get to pay a baby grand to playing like whatever you're playing, like Ding Dong the Witch is Dead or something. It's like it's crazy.
Oh man, so cool.
Unbelievable. Well, listen, we're gonna go ahead and let you go. And like I said, time flies though. We got it. We're at.
It does.
I mean, it's just crazy. But we're gonna have you back, and you know, we'll talk about a few more things, and but we really appreciate you coming on, and
Totally.
you have any shows? I mean, coming up. Anything coming up other than the House concert is this Sunday. And but anything coming up with your we have something, don't we? Didn't you just called me about but it's not for maybe a couple of months or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's some kind of hoedown in Alabama. A road shoot too.
Awesome. Can't wait.
I got a funny story. I got a funny story because I was talking to Michael about booking at the Balzer Theater, right? So he says, I'm going to talk to Leah. We're going to see what's going to happen, right? So I get this phone call from Leah. So I just assumed it was you, right? So I said, Leah, I've been waiting for your call. I talked to Michael. And she was like, okay. And I said, yeah, I'm excited about trying to get you at the Balzer Theater. And I was explaining to her how it worked and stuff like that. And she says, well, I don't know who you're calling. I was like, Leah. She's like, yeah, she's like, my name is Leah. But I just want to know, would you be willing to sell your property on Bigelow Drive? And I was like, not Leah. And it was right after I had talked to Michael. So I assumed it was you. But it was a person trying to buy my house. I was like, no, I'm not selling my property. Can you put me on your do not call list, please?
Oh, man.
Oh, man. But I'll call Michael and you guys, and we'll see about having you guys possibly if we could do July-ish or something like that. So I'll get
That'd
with
be cool.
you. Yeah, since I was going to ask you about June, but since y'all have the festival, July probably be better. So yeah. But I'm gonna try to come out to the concert on Sunday, hopefully.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, well, definitely if y'all share, you're welcome to share my website. And if people are interested, they can go there and kind of sign up for.
I already put it up there. So yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. It's lovely
Leah
talking
Calvert, LeahCalvert.com. There you go.
Marvelous.
Your website.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, Leah.
Yeah.
We will talk to you soon.
Much love.
Okay. I'll see you soon. All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Man, that was cool, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, she's great. I don't think she knows how fantastic she is, but you know, I'll say it.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
You know, but not to go completely dark, but that's where we are. You know. That's crazy, man. She, you know, she just, it's, if it was, what is it, 2024? You know, I would even say I mean, 20 years, definitely. That early 2000s, things were still moving around a pretty good, but you think about those artists that were able to kind of hit, that were kind of genre bending back in that time, and she would fit right into she'd fit right into that, man.
Yeah, everything is so homogenized now, man. You don't even know what genre you're listening to, man. Beyonce got a country album out. Okay.
Man, come on. I mean, I'm done, man.
But what is a country album nowadays? It got so many other influences in country. Like there's hip hop in country music. So is that country?
That's bro. Let's call it bro rap, bro. Bro rap. We're gonna get Chris Blackwell on here. We're gonna get to ooh boy, he'll go off big time about that whole thing, man. But
right.
I mean, Nashville that's where the sausage is made now.
Hey, I don't mind.
It's just like Mancini. Man, you can always leave it to Mancini to come up with a nice little
BKU University.
Yeah.
Home of the Tough Skins. I still remember that Mancini. Home of the Tough Skins. Totally joking. Yeah. Uh-huh.
You're not joking. You are correct, sir. But
So what? Hey, man. So when you got the call for the house gig, concert gig, what'd you think initially? Like what was said to you, and you being an artist, those words? How did that resonate with you when they?
I mean, not much. It was. I can't remember who approached me first. If it was Leah or if it was Tommy. But it was just
But you want to do you, so which is there's a lot of faces or facets, I should say, to what you are. So what did you decide? How did you decide?
Immediately it was like the trio with me, you, and Craig. That was my because we can play at a softer volume and still bring the heat. That's how I felt. And and just our creativity alone with I think we had a couple tunes that we wanted. We're working on. There were some things that we didn't even get to. What was the tune that I wanted to do that you were hell bent on? I can't remember if I didn't send it or you just checked it. Oh, actually, it was Craig's tune.
Craig's tune, yeah.
Blues from Shawville,
right?
And man, we didn't even end up playing it. We were rehearsing it, and we never even ended up playing it. But man, because dude, we don't, like you just said, we don't get an opportunity to play that stuff at all. To play the odd meter stuff that we like to play, to play, freely, to just morph into songs like we like to do. We don't ever get to do.
You gotta have relationships for that. I mean, I played with somebody who wasn't in the group, a particular group, and just coming into it. And Craig Shaw usually occupies that position, and it's not the same. It's like you're trying to teach them how to be in this situation, and you say, "Oh, you need like 4 or 5 gigs to make this work." But some things you can't teach. It's like intuitive, when you're with people that you've been with, like me, you, and Craig. It's a different thing. It's a rhythm section that is going to bring a certain sound, a certain energy to a gig, just like the other rhythm sections. Lewis, Keith Runfolo, and Tommy Sauter, that was a different thing, Kenai and them as well. That's a different thing, and it's not that we're not jealous of it. It's their thing,
Well, and everybody has that, yeah.
But that's the uniqueness of it, Ken Herbie. I thought that Tony Williams was not hired for the Headhunters project because he didn't play funk, until I heard Tony Williams play some stuff, and I was like, oh no, he can play funk. But hearing Herbie with Harvey Mason is different from hearing Herbie with Tony Williams, and sometimes that's cool,
Yeah.
a lot of times it's cool.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with. I mean, there's certain cats that occupy a certain space that you may
Right.
need.
Right.
So it's not necessarily always a personal. It's not a personal decision. It's just like, we've talked about when Coltrane found Elvin, and Elvin had been doing records. I mean, it wasn't like he hadn't been
Right.
doing anything. And you go listen to Elvin. I've been listening to the Live at the Village Vanguard a lot over the last a couple of weeks with Sonny Rollins, just the trio, and listening to that record, which was like 1957. I think it was 57. Hearing Elvin there versus hearing Elvin when he joined Coltrane's band, the development is like, because you that's what's always cool about going back to hearing those guys that are kind of known for whatever, you might say Elvin, you say Herbie, you say in the drum world we say Vinny. The people that seem to have the one name,
Right.
But listen to early stuff and then listen and hear how they've developed their vocabulary over the years. It's one of the things that I love to do, to hear, hearing Herbie in 61 versus hearing Herbie in with the Plug Nickel Band is, because it's like different people are going to bring different things out of you, and it's just it's a beautiful thing. It's like you and me and Craig have been playing together for 25 years.
Yeah.
So, there's going to be things that, I guess, whatever you want to call it, telepathy or just whatever, where we don't even there's times when we played together, I don't remember anything about what you guys played. That's how great it was. Like it's just like one, it's like you're not even thinking about, it's just, you're just all just in that, whatever that, that whirlwind of sound, man.
Right. But then when I hear you play with other people, and there's another thing, I was like, oh, that's cool too. We don't play like that, but you get those other people and other relationships, and that's a thing too, So I mean, you think about it, within even my family, me and my older brother have a type of relationship, being the oldest, and then I have a relationship with my younger brother, which is totally different, with us being like middle kids. It's really weird, but don't we have a different frequency between us, and then both my older brother and younger brother, both of them are 6 feet, so they have 6'3", so that's a different dynamic that they have, being semi-tall people. It's just weird, but the relationship.
Bring that comment back that
Neil
just said.
I mean, it's a different drummer from Jack DeJohnette.
Completely different.
Yes.
And Keith, listen to Keith with both drummers.
Right. Totally different.
Totally different. But it's the same kind of thing. When Keith found Jack, it was game over.
Yeah.
You find sometimes, you sit, you find those, and that's nothing against Motion. I mean, Motion is amazing. He's amazing at what he does. But when you
Bill
really
Evans
find,
too, I mean, that was the Bill Evans, Paul Motion and stuff. That's a different thing. And you can see maybe Jarrett was influenced by that sound, but then when you got with Jack DeJohnette and Gary Peacock or whoever else, or
right.
Yeah,
think about Miles with Philly Joe. I mean, and that stuff is amazing.
Right.
Milestones, all that stuff.
Wayne and Tony taught Miles.
Well, that's what I was just but when when he finds Tony, it's like, oh, okay, now I can go anywhere,
Yeah.
And that's, it's not just jazz. I mean, it could be other types of music too, but I mean, Sting, we talk about Sting with Stuart Copeland and the Police, unbelievable. Some of my favorite stuff ever, forever.
Right.
But when he starts working on his own, he's got Omar Hakim, then he's got Manu Katché, then he's got Vinny. He finds Vinny, and it's game over.
Yeah.
So,
and Kenny Kirkland in that band is a different thing too. You're like, oh,
what about Wynton's bands? Talk about Wynton's band. When he finds Tane, Kenny. I mean, it's. I mean, that's when it's like, oh, okay, I can, and it's nothing against.
No.
What
and then
happened
Bramford takes that band, and then Wynton starts another one with Marcus Roberts, and that's a whole different thing. A whole different thing.
Whole different thing, man.
Yeah.
All incredible, but just different,
Yeah.
I used to go check out Neil Fountain with Jeff Sipe, Jimmy Herring.
Man. I wish I would have heard that.
Ridiculous,
Oh, man.
I mean, I saw those guys play a bunch of gigs.
And Neil is such an unassuming guy. You wouldn't even know how bad the cat was if he was walking down the street. You'd be like, "Hey guys, how y'all doing?"
But hearing him and Jeff, and a lot of what they were doing, they just improvising.
Yeah.
But coming up with just amazing. So it's like different people, coming together now. Neil and Leah. And playing with them, with those two, and that's just incredibly beautiful, but completely different from other stuff that he would play with Jeff or with Jimmy or whoever.
How do you try to find, as a drummer, a spot within what they're doing? Like, how do you approach that opposed to like other stuff? Or you may approach it the same, but how do you find the space between Leah and Neil and say, I want to play complementary to that?
Well, those grooves were already sussed out by Marlon. So I'm really trying to kind of honor what Marlon did and what worked for the song. And then of course I'm going to bring my own whatever to that, but it's just more about trying to, the great thing about playing music like that, it is a lot like playing jazz or other kinds of, music where, you have a form and there's a roadmap, but then there's always going to be room for, some type of either improvisation or just finding your own way of playing that. They never say, man, you got to play it like this, It's more like, okay, here's the groove and then you try to kind of bring your own thing to it. You know what I'm saying? So it's Tetris, except the whole band can move the pieces. Right. And that's the beauty, because it's, when you have sort of music that's, in jazz, you have the harmony is very strict. Whatever's going on harmonically a lot of times, right, is kind of, the melody is kind of, but there's still ways for you to kind of influence and change some things the way that you feel it. Like when you pick a standard, Stella by Starlight.
Right.
You're going to play it completely different than how Louis Hariveau would play.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Both killing, but you
the
have
structure
your own
is there, but it's
right.
I think this analogy that Neil came up with, this Tetris thing, is because you're finding where the pieces fit together, right? And you can rotate whatever, but the goal is to not let the pieces accumulate to the top and freeze the whole game, right? So you have to everybody's job is to get the lines down, right? So however those pieces fit, you may see it one way and I may see it a different way in Tetris, right? But the obstacle is still the same, but the language or how you work it out is still the same, how you fit these pieces together. So I think that's a great analogy. I told one of my students today, you're not learning jazz, you're learning language.
That's right.
You're not learning music, you're learning how to talk. And I said, when you first learn your language, it's going to be challenging because you're not going to know what to say. Y'all want to say all this complex stuff, but your basic necessities is what you need first. You know, a student asked me about, I want to learn about the diminished scale today. I'm like, okay, but we're not talking on that. You're not ready to talk there yet. If I drop you in the middle of Paris, France, you have to get your basic necessities met first.
Right.
What can I eat? How much does this cost? Where's the bathroom?
Right.
You can't be talking about, I think you're the most beautiful woman in the world. You cannot do that when you learn a language. Because even if the most beautiful, you got that compliment off, if she said something to you, you wouldn't understand what she's saying back to you.
I mean, it's just all about building blocks, man.
Yeah.
And not being in a hurry, you know, to I think again, what is your, you know, if you're more about the goal than it is the journey, I don't know. I don't think this is for you.
Yeah, that journey is a mother. You may never reach that that end.
But isn't that what seems to be the MO now? Is I want to be on stage. I want a million followers.
Are you ready for this stage?
But
you get there?
No, but it doesn't matter.
There's 100 things that non-musical you got to deal with before you even get to the stage. You think you're just setting up on a stage and you're going to do whatever you do. It's 100 things you got to do before.
Now, there's no trial by fire. I mean, no other trial by fire than go up on stage and fail.
Oh, immersion, yeah. But sometimes, like we said before, you only got one shot. So that immersion, look, it's called sink or swim. What's the ramifications of somebody throwing you in a pool? You could die. You could die. If somebody throws you in the pool, I know a guy, best friends with my brother at the time. His dad decided he was going to teach his son how to drive. And he got to church, bro. The dude was frazzled. I was like, what's up with you? He's like, I drove for the first time. I was like, what do you mean you drove? He drove from the 9th Ward to Metairie on the interstate. First time driving.
No way.
I'm not lying. And he came out of the thing shaking. And I was like, but that could get you killed. Yeah. Did he make it?
Just the visual of that, man. Just the visual of that, bro. Right. It's hilarious.
So you can't immerse everybody into something in the hardest situation, you know, in the world. You got to take steps on this thing. Like you said, it's blocks. You know what I'm saying? I can't fight Mike Tyson and I put on the gloves for the first time. Come on, man.
I mean, look, I'm just glad that my first times on stage, it wasn't nobody there. No social media. Nobody was recording. Nobody was putting you on blast. You know,
first time I ever walked a bass line. It's a bass player named Doug, bro. We were playing at this little club in New Orleans off Magazine Street. Literally a hole in the wall. This cat, I was first time playing a gig. The cat was like, "Yo, that." I'm laughing thinking about it because I can see it so vividly. Bass player said, "Yo, that looks like the guy who stole a tip jar the past."
Oh, you told the story. Yeah. Hilarious. Yeah.
He said, "Tyrone, take over the bass line." I was like, "What?" He threw his bass down and jumped on the dude from off the stage. I was like, what is going on? And I'm playing bass lines. And I was like, I don't know anything about this, you know? But bruh, it was like, that was crazy. But it had it been my own gig, I would not know to look out for the people in the audience. Like now I'm conscious of if I have a tip jar gig, whatever, I ain't gonna put that tip jar like right at the edge. Somebody can snatch that bad boy, bro. Right now, I'm cognizant of that because of that very situation that happened, you know.
What the heck does this mean? So Mancini says some folks killing players, but sink or swim works after the hit too.
Whoa.
The heck does it? What does that mean?
Players, but
explain.
Huh?
Sink or swim after the hit.
Works after the hit too. Oh, so I don't know. Maybe after the gig is over, they sang too.
What's the sink or swim after the gig?
After the hit too.
All right,
You gotta
you
that
have to break that riddle down there, man.
right.
You're over our heads at the moment.
Okay,
So
maybe it's supposed to be broken up. Some folks are killing players, but sink or swim. And maybe that's where it's supposed to stop. I don't know.
I don't know, man. You got me on that one.
Man, what do
But
you got
yeah,
coming
man.
up, man? You got anything coming up?
Let's see. Not publicly. Oh, he says learn the tunes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, they
good
might be
one.
killing players, but a terrible hang. Yeah, that's true.
Neil says hey, Mancini doesn't indulge in those kinds of extracurricular activities. Somebody else was talking about that too, though. Oh man, the Jeff Keezer post, right? So
Oh, we need to have a show about
I know
that.
we're gonna have we are gonna have a show on that
There's been
because
some
a lot of people that that's like that's continuing. So Marcus Strickland, another great jazz musician, saxophonist, weighed in, and a lot of other people weighing in on this. We cannot get into because we will be here for another 2 hours, but that is going to play into some of the upcoming things that we have, some of the new stuff that we're going to be getting into, and we're going to kind of start with that. With Jeff Keezer is a world-renowned pianist, composer, and he made some comments about the how would you're in his
the
field.
plight
So
of
what would you say?
educators with today's students, this generation students.
Right. Which, man, we're all of that age. It's like it's sooner or later you do become get off my lawn dude a little bit. You can't help it. I mean, we used to get mad at the old, but now we're seeing what they see. It's the same
Dude,
kind of
I could not hold a candle to my dad with what he went through and how he had to overcome the odds. I
right.
could
So
not. And I can acknowledge that.
right.
And neither my dad could deal with the things that his father dealt with, my grandfather. So,
right.
It's going to get easier. And that is the problem. It's going to get easier for the next generation.
Ooh, easier. I don't know. Is that
Okay. The technology,
the right word?
let me just ask you right now. The technology that you have right now in your hands, if you had that when you were first starting out,
Oh man.
there you go. The technology alone makes it easier and you should be able to accomplish whatever you need to do faster. But for some reason back then, and we didn't have the technology that our forefathers had. We had the technology. Look, Ellis Marcellus told me this. We're in a lesson. He said, Jackson, do you learn chords? Do you shed on chords? I'm like, no. I mean, it's like, what do you mean? Do you listen to the records for voicings? I'm like, no. He said, that's your problem. He's like, you're not listening to see what cats play voice. You just want to learn the solos. I was like, dang, okay. So he said, do you realize we didn't have like records and stuff like that? He's like, there was a show. I think it was like not Mission Impossible. It was like I Spy or something like that. And he said, it came on the radio. He said, it was on the radio. He said, there was this big chord at the end. He said, it took me 14 episodes to learn that one chord. I was like, what do you mean 14 episodes? He says, I had to listen through the whole show to wait for that chord. It was in the family room. I'd hear it, run to where the piano was and try to pick out some notes real quick. He said, next week I'll come back and try to do two things. Check the notes that I learned to see if that's correct and try to learn another note. He said one time my grandmother was there saying something right at the time where the chord came up. And he's like, I missed it. He said it took me 14 episodes, which means that's 14 weeks, people. 14 weeks. The episode was only one day a week that was on there at one particular hour. And that's how long he listened to it to find one chord voicing. And now I have all the technology to slow things down or whatever at that time, or a cassette tape where I could listen to it 14 times in a row if I wanted to. So that's what he did to figure out voicings. Now, technology is way easier now. You can go to YouTube, find anything. You can slow it down, like Leah said. Didn't she just say it would have made my life a whole lot easier if I didn't need the amazing slow downer, which was a software program. You go to YouTube and check out anything you want to right now, slow it down and loop it or what have you. So that should make us, in theory, better.
Mm. Mm.
But we're softer.
Well, you can't blame those growing up in technology for using technology, you know.
No, I want you to use it. I should be using it more myself.
Well, that's the thing, is like, we don't know how to use it. We're the ones that should be benefiting from it. If I had a nickel for every cat, all right, that don't know how to do, you know, and I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny, right? So,
right.
You know, but it's you know, it's a cheat code.
Yeah.
It's
That's what
just
somebody
like,
said. We should teach a class. We should have a class of somebody teaching Pro Tools and Logic. I'm like, dude, those students should be teaching y'all. They already know how to use it. They've been using it for their social media, garage. You can't teach them that. They're going to teach you that, dude.
It's like back when video games, man. I can remember when they used to have books that would show you, or you know, how to get through the game or whatever,
Right.
or back in the day when Pac-Man was the hit and somebody figured out the patterns.
Right, exactly. Remember that? Put the arrows all around it. Where you go at?
Bro, I had that book, bro. When I got that book, woo, you couldn't tell me nothing, man.
Yeah.
And I think because then it's just all you're doing is what? You're memorizing patterns.
Right. Right.
And
you don't tell cats what you had. You know what I'm saying? You just go in there and, like,
you don't tell it, right. And then you go to the arcade.
Yeah.
And you know,
we used to put those quarters up, bro.
But as a kid, your memory is out of this world.
Yes.
So you memorize these patterns, you practice, you memorize, and then you get with your friends, and they don't know you've been doing that, and you just start ripping off pages, man. They're like, you are the man, bro. You are the man.
You're right.
So, but that was the first time I think I started seeing, you know, and then of course the levels jumped, like, to, you know, then all the game, Donkey Kong, everybody had figured stuff out, and you just start memorizing the patterns on kind of what to do. But now it's like on steroids, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the I don't know how to put that genie back in the bottle, man. I don't think you can. What Mancini say? He said, have that technology is why folks aren't at the hits to get those skills in the first place. Well, yeah.
But I mean, you know, things change. So maybe hits are not the way it goes now. Maybe virtually stuff is happening now, and edited video and all that stuff together. Maybe that's the new thing. And my dad still had an 8-track tape that he loved, you know. But
well, you have to make a decision. You know, you say, you know, do you just roll with everything and keep things moving, you know, staying current, you know, what's the price for staying current? Like, for us, we have too much history and too much.
Well, some things come back. Vintage instruments.
Yeah, things do. Yeah, you're right.
Like
Things
a
do.
Hammond B3
Yeah,
organ.
right. Yeah, things do
10
come back
grand.
as
10
because
grand now
this.
to buy that. I can't even
Well,
buy
that's
it
what
really.
vintage drum sets,
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like, I mean, I was just talking to
Charlton.
John Charlton about this. He's like, man, these vintage drum sets are just ridiculously high for no reason, and it's just because the
Those
hipsters or
Vista
whatever,
lights.
once they started
I
buying that stuff up,
I hate those
and
Vista lights in the 80s, bro. 80s, 90s
yep,
or whatever.
those things don't really even sound that good.
No, but I saw somebody selling some, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Ah.
I mean, Bonham used them on the song remains. I mean, but he only used them for a certain. They just don't sound that good.
Right.
They look cool.
Right.
They
Exactly.
look cool. They look cool.
Right.
And you can't tell nobody nothing about
No.
So, but yeah, man. Anyway, man, let's go ahead and cut it because I was about to bring something up that I don't even want to.
No. Let's wait.
I don't want to
So
get
we're
into.
off next week, right?
Yes, everybody, we will be off next week. Both Tyrone and I will be out of town. So
yeah, I got a concert, faculty concert at Kennesaw.
Oh, you got it. Okay, so you
So
just
if you
have a
guys are in the
concert.
neighborhood, come check out our faculty concert.
Yeah, and I'll be out of town with the Mike Veal band in their residency in Key West for a week. So, and then so then we'll be good for the following week though, because the first.
Don't we have a gig in Macon or something?
Oh, that's right. Let's see here.
We'll keep posted.
Let's see. So we've got.
Thanks,
So
Neil.
we're
You
off
take it easy,
27th. And yeah, the 27th. So it's 2 weeks, but we could maybe.
Yeah, we might do something in between or something.
Because we have the 27th and the 5th, we will not have a show. Maybe we can work something out for later that week of the 5th or something like that. But we'll keep everybody posted. Go to YouTube,
Spotify,
and check out if you're on YouTube, this is our page here, and all the videos. So we've got some new stuff, a couple of solos that Brian has put up. Here's the one with Eric. Got Tyrone solo on Caravan.
nice.
Couple of drum solos. So we got some new stuff coming up. We're gonna also work on doing some analysis of some different things, and so we got a lot of stuff planned. We got a whole new series that we're going to be unveiling on strictly for YouTube, shorter content that's going to be in that 10 to 15 minute range on real specific subjects. So we got a lot of new stuff in the works, and we just got to get to it, which is
thanks, Mancini. Thanks, Brad, for coming in.
Yeah, thanks to everybody that's been in the chat.
Pod,
Neil Fountain,
Clay Cox. Do you know who that is? First time?
No, he said it was his first time. So hopefully Clay enjoyed the show. Tia, Otis Gould. I think John and Mark and Brian were hanging out with us as well.
Whitanis.
So Danny Whitanis, good to hear from him, who was on your gig the other day with the Soul Symphony.
Soul Symphony, yeah.
Yeah. So So awesome. Thank you guys. Go to our YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. We have a page on YouTube, or I'm sorry, on Facebook and Instagram that you can like, and we're uploading more stuff on that as well. So thank you to Leah Calvert for coming on with us tonight. We've got
try to check out the concert if you can on Sunday.
Yes, her house concert. You can go to leahcalvert.com to get a slot on for the show. And go to her contact. Was it her contact?
Go to the
page?
contact and send her, drop her put your information in and she'll contact you.
Yeah. So man, definitely support them, and they're doing some really great things. And other than that, we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. God bless, and we'll see y'all soon. Peace.